Getting everything done in time can be quite the chore, but fear not, Lycanthro fans, I will endure. Welcome everyone to Lycanthro Keith's Gaming Space, and today we're going to take a look at Enduro by Activision for the Atari 2600. Enduro was released in 1983, and it was created by Larry Miller, who only had one other Activision game to his credit, a shooter called Spider Fighter. He is not to be confused with Alan Miller, who was one of the original four people from Activision to bail on Atari and form the first third-party game company. But I give Larry Miller quite a lot of credit because Enduro is a tough game, but a pretty technologically advanced game for the time for the 2600. Essentially, you're looking at Activision's answer to games like Pole Position and Night Driver, along with some pretty neat variations in it. So, without any further ado, gentlemen and ladies, start your engines. So I adjusted the sound as best I could to hopefully not drown me out. And I did some test recordings. I'm going to be doing that a lot. I did some test recordings and everything seemed to come out pretty well. So hopefully that's the case. Good thing is I'm on my new setup so I can adjust the volume if need be. So the basic idea of Enduro is completing as many days of an Enduro or endurance race as we possibly can. The counter next to the car symbol down there indicates the number of cars we have to pass every day in order to stay in the race. For the first day, it's 200 cars. For the second and every day thereafter, it is 300. I don't think it ever actually goes past that. And as you can see, we're going to have changing weather conditions. Right now, we got snow to deal with, and that's making getting around cars reliably slightly more difficult. It's harder to steer on snow. So there are a couple of things about Enduro I looked up and did some research on, basically because I was curious and I wanted something to talk about while we took this little road trip together. First off, the biggest curiosity to me about Enduro was the car itself, and by extension the, I almost said enemy, but the other racers. Well, first off, this handles very well, I should mention that. The controls are very simple. Holding down the button will accelerate you. As soon as you release the button, you will maintain that cruising speed. And if you need to brake, you just push back on the joystick. And then there's just left and right, and that's it. Car is an automatic, it will shift for you, which is definitely handy. And now we have driving at night. And this seems to do some strange things to the car's hitboxes. It seems like you have a little bit more leeway. As long as you don't hit the lights, you're fine. But, yeah. Don't know what quite to make of that. Any rate, so what I was mentioning about the car. From the look of this car and the other cars, and we're about to made our quota, yay! From this point, if we have a wreck or people pass us, it won't count against us. But sadly, neither will passing anybody else count towards next day's total. Yeah, not going to be that nice. But the car very clearly looks like a Formula One race car, which is not typically what is used in most Enduros, or rally races, or anything like that. Usually you would use either performance sports cars, or if it's an off-road race, you would use something like 4x4s, pickup trucks, dune buggies, that kind of thing. And I know for sure Formula One race cars do not have tail lights. So, yeah, you can see actually up in the corner there, I I always include the box art out of habit anyhow, but you can see the box art shows a much different car, an enclosed racing vehicle. I did a little research into that, and from what I can determine, that car is a Lancia Stratos. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Could be Lancia, but Stratos. I'm not sure of exactly what model. There are a bunch of different types, varying by model year and by what type of race they're designed for. But that car actually stuck out to me from my childhood for two different reasons. First off, it shows up in a choose-your-own-adventure book called The Race Forever, which was one of my favorites as a kid, actually. There's actually two different races in there. One is a speed race, and the other is an off-road rally. And in the speed race, that was bad. That was a bad move on my part. In the speed race, you have a choice between two cars. One is a Saab 900. That was dumb. One is a Saab 900, and the other is is just identified as a Lancia. But from what I saw of the pictures, and I'll put the pictures up, it definitely looks like the car on the back of Enduro. So I would guess that the Enduro car is also a Lancia Stratos. Oh, very important tip, by the way, that I'm not in any way following. You're going to lose a lot less time, as you can see, by hitting the sides of the road as opposed to ramming into another car. So if you have to make the choice, hit the side of the road. You can't afford too many mistakes. You've only got so much time to work with. And speaking of that, it's getting towards night, so I'm starting to run low on time here. Also, not helping the car patterns, and this wasn't really a problem in the original game on the 2600, but the car patterns, if you're doing the save scum method, are totally randomized. There is no specific pattern that these cars will come at you. So you got to basically be ready for anything. But yeah, that showed up in the Race Forever, and one thing I definitely remember about the Lancia is having problems with the wiring and having to rip burning wiring out of the car to the point where your headlights only worked at very low capacity, which would definitely screw you up later if you weren't careful. I think there might be some fog heading up, I'm not sure. Yep. How did I know it? But fortunately, I do not have a lot of cars left to pass, so I think I'm going to be okay. You gotta be really careful. It's very easy to accidentally save into a wreck. Or just drive right into a car and wreck. Yeah, that's an option too. The other source for the Lancia that I remember as a kid, yeah, I think everybody at this point knows how big a fan I am of the Transformers. The Lancia Stratos, specifically a Lancia Stratos Turbo, was the... Damn, I can't believe I got between them. Was the alt mode of the Autobot Wheeljack. And he really hasn't had much variation over the years. Occasionally he's been different kinds of race cars. On the Alternators line he was something totally different, I forget what. But yeah, that's what he was initially. And, also a little Transformers trivia. Wheeljack was actually the very first Transformer shown in the cartoons. The very first episode, the very first Transformer shown was Wheeljack. So there, a little trivia for you. But yeah, so that's what I remember about the car. There was another little bit of history about Enduro. Like I mentioned, 1983 was when it debuted on the 2600. It did make its way to computers, and that was dumb. And there was also a kind of a semi-official reboot, reimagining on a couple of different PCs, including the Atari computers and the Apple II. It was called the Great American Cross Country Road Race. And it was designed by Alex DeMeo. And he cited as his primary inspiration a 1976 movie called The Gumball Rally, which was a enduro race from New York. Oh, that was way too long since I saved, damn. It was a it was a enduro race from New York to California. It also inspired a kind of its own mini-genre of that, which included movies like Cannonball Run and Speed Zone. One of the things I can tell you about Gumball Rally, I have never seen it myself, but now I want to, because one of the actors in it is the late great Raul Julia. Apparently he played a French racer who kept having severe trouble gaining any ground because he was too busy stopping to flirt with women. Yeah. So he was trying to make progress, but not actually in the car. I have no idea if the race car had a back seat, so I don't know how far that would have gotten him. But, you know, hey, Raul Julia. How can you go wrong with that? I don't know for sure if Enduro was based on any specific road race. Probably the best example I can think of an Enduro that people have heard of is the Dakar Rally, formerly known as the Paris-Dakar Rally, which is usually, I've heard anywhere from 3 days to up to 12 or so, but it's actually off-road. Okay, I'm not worried about load stating here. I'm going to include a link to the Enduro manual because Activision actually mentions some famous endurance or long-distance races. Yeah, day 3. Okay. I'm going to see if I can make it to day 5. I've never done it, but we're going to try. I don't mind bothering with that. I'm not going to lose any progress, but fuck it, you know, keep the skills going. Yeah, they mentioned a few different ones, and they were kind of interesting to me, so, you know, I put them up there in case they're interesting to anyone else. Oh, hell no. I'm not going to crash that close to the start of the next count. Okay, well that doesn't really matter. Nothing really matters. We haven't reached day 4, now we have. No, screw you. You move. You get your car over. I will have none of your shenanigans. One other typical thing about an Enduro, not everybody is using the same type of car. You have people field all different types of vehicles, all different manufacturers and models. Typically you would have Typically you would have a group that would be of a team of vehicles so you might see them running the same vehicles. But it's kind of rare in a race like this to see, you know, so many of the same things. But then again, you know, it's the 2600, allowances had to be made, so it was one less thing Activision had to program. But Enduro really stands out to me as one of the first games where you had, you know, the never-ending track concept. God damn me. I will get past you assholes, this I vow. Shit, I didn't mean to load. Okay, there we go. That's better. And, most people who know me know that I've never really been big into racers, but this was one I definitely enjoyed as a kid. You know. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I was an expert at it or anything, because that definitely is not the case. Much like now. As with most things, this is a hell of a lot easier because I'm safe coming. And that snow is so fucking annoying. As it slows down your ability to move back and forth, which can really, really screw you if you get caught behind somebody. Honestly, between this and the fog, if there were good reasons to slow down, these would be the two things. But the fortunate thing with the snow, it happens early enough in the race that you can, you know, slow down a little bit here, make some mistakes, and still have time to catch up. When the fog hits, you have a lot bigger problem because, number one, the fog is always happening at night. And number two, it's just really, really easy to have no time to react. But fortunately, they don't do anything nasty to you like combine fog and snow. That would be just pure dicketry. Okay, I gotta hustle here. Yeah, you see what I mean there about the closer hitbox? Because it seems like all that matters is do you hit the taillights or not. It seems to almost forget that there's a car there. Something that the designer, Larry Miller, did actually mention in the owner's manual, as far as tips for the race, it is entirely possible Shit, I can't believe I managed that. It is entirely possible sometimes that if you slow down when you're around a clump of cars, they will... if they go into the distance, they will sometimes have shifted positions, making it a lot easier to get back around them. Which, you know, a lot of times is a good damned idea, instead of trying to force your way through them. Okay, I think I can make it. If I can't, then I'm going to... God damn it! If I can't, then I'm going to use that load state. Because I'm very close to the 5th day, I'm not going to blow it now. Yes! Oh man, that was so close. Day 5, and I have the cup. And I'm really out of things to say about Enduro, but as you can see, I have the Racing Cup. So I could have qualified for the Activision Roadbusters badge had it been many, many years ago and I had save states then. So I think that will do. I'm going to go ahead and cut off my racing career early. Yeah, let's see if I can come to a complete stop here. Yeah, you won't. I don't know why you're in such a hurry. Just, go right past me. Bunch of show-offs. At any rate, I want to thank you for taking this race with me and being part of my loyal pit crew. So, take care, and always remember, when you've got to drive cross-country, pace yourself. Possibly behind a pace car. Take care, everyone. Until we game again. This episode's head in the Lancia stratosphere was made possible by Mike Panza, Rick in Baltimore, D.I.O.D., Gizmo Gremlin, Jumpy Cat, the post-production work of Matthew Carr Anderson, and all my rallying cry lycanthro fans. Thank you very much for your continued support. Until we game again.